Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Steve Kirk, guy I know pretty well, I respect. Very interesting backstory on Steve Kirk, by the way. A Kentucky fan living in Connecticut. So you know my man has been in hell the last 2 years watching Dan Hurley steamroll the sport of college basketball. But question from Steve Kirk. Love UK and what Coach Pope has done. My only concern is a lot of fifth-year guys who may think me versus team. Should that be a concern? Steve, great question. Bluntly, no. Now listen, if you fill all 13 scholarships, are you going to have a roster where all 13 guys are happy every single day with their role? I don't think so. Listen, even if, by the way, that was like a Home Alone, I don't think so. But listen, you know, I think that even if you're a freshman that knows you're not going to play a ton of minutes, even if you're the Ansley Almanor kid, who basically decided I'd rather be the 11th man at Kentucky than be a star at the mid-major level, I do think that no matter what, you're never going to have 13 guys in a locker room happy. I mean, UConn won a national championship. I love them. They had a kid transfer out. Last year, they won a national championship. They had 2 or 3 transfers. This stuff happens. Nothing is perfect. And I think Dan Hurley is doing it at about as high of a level as possible. And so to directly answer your question, no, there's no way all 13 guys are going to be happy every single second of the day. But should it be a concern? I don't believe so. And let me explain why. One thing I give Mark Pope a lot of credit for is that by all accounts, all of these kids, it has been made explicitly clear what their role is going to be and how they fit in. And listen, I'm not anti-Cal. I don't think Cal's going to be as bad as Arkansas, be as bad at Arkansas as some people think. But we all know that when he was at Kentucky, and there's other coaches that do this as well, it was accumulate the most talent possible and then figure it out from there. And I don't think that's how Mark Pope is operating this thing. I know what some of the recruiting pitches were. This is what we think you do well. This is how we think you fit. These are the guys that are playing with you. And this is how we think you will fit with those guys playing with you in this system, in this role. And so one, I give Mark Pope credit because he has made clear to everyone who he has recruited, what the expectations are, what their role will be, how many minutes he expects them to play, and the impact that he expects them to have. I don't think there's going to be a guy that comes in expected to play 32 minutes that plays 14 minutes. I think the other factor is Pope plays a lot of guys, which I do think is important. Listen, all Mark Pope, if somebody comes into his office and says, I expected to play more, Mark Pope's going to be like, one, I already told you what the situation was going to be here. But two, he's going to say, go look at the BYU stat sheet from last year. I play a lot of guys. I've always played a lot of guys. I want to keep you fresh. I want to rotate out. I want this offense to hum. And this is how I run my program. Thirdly, and I think this is an important part, all these guys are coming to Kentucky to try to do something they haven't done. Lamont Butler's played in a national championship. He hasn't won one. Andrew Carr has never played in an NCAA tournament that I'm aware of. I think he transferred before Wake Forest, so maybe he has. Otega Owo was a disappointment. Kirk Kriisa played in a Sweet 16. He wants to get to a Final Four. And so the only reason I bring it up is because all these guys have individual goals, but they have team goals as well. And so to answer your question, should it be a concern? I don't think it should be a concern because at the end of the day, they're playing for the team, they're playing for themselves, but they're also playing for the future as well. If you're a pain in the neck and you're not getting on the court and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's only going to hurt you in the long run with the NBA draft process. And so I don't believe that's an issue. I am not personally somebody that believes that should be a concern. It's a great question from Steve.